to the March 25th, 2025 meeting of the Grafton School Committee. I'm Amy Marr, the chair, calling this meeting to order. First tonight we'll have public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to general business. We have a school update from North Grafton Elementary School and South Grafton Elementary School, and Ms. Julie Flynn is here. Hello, Julie. Welcome.
Good evening. I am gonna try to share my screen with you. So hopefully that works. Oh, Amber. Oh dear. Might not be as easy as we thought. No, it's not going to be as easy as we thought. All right. So.
On our screen it says the host would like you to unmute.
Well, she told me to stay muted before.
Yeah, gotta stay muted.
Okay.
But I can't, I'm trying to share my screen as the biggest piece. Oh,
If you click on the bottom of the screen, little box.
this one?
That one.
That's what I did before and it's not allowing me in.
The admin of the call might need to allow sharing.
Dr. Cummings, do you have
I'm
the
gonna
PDF?
save the day somehow.
You are gonna save the day.
How? I don't know. What the best do you want to share? No, it's Canva.
Is that it? No.
No, it's, once I go to open settings.
I've got the PDF. I know
Turn
that's a
toggle
far
that.
cry.
I did, yeah, I didn't, and then it goes to, I don't know,
Okay.
I tried a different one. Quit and reopen. Nope, I don't really want to leave the webinar. Cancel.
I have the
It won't let me
PDF
present.
that I can show. But
If you can
I
share
know
the
that's a
PDF,
far cry from.
that would be fantastic, and then I will share the link with you to our video.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So I think I can then leave the Zoom. Or at least minimize. Okay. So I'm going to share a link with you, Jay, so that when we get to it, you can open it for me, please.
There we go.
Okay. So you can hold off on that for now. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Flynn, and I am the very proud principal of North Grafton Elementary School. And I am here. I can unmute.
No, you just came off of it.
It says audio's on this big red line.
Okay.
Everything's muted. Is that better?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So I am here to present on behalf of Melissa Wallace and South Grafton and our North Grafton staff to share a little bit with you about what is going on and what we have been up to this year at North Grafton Elementary. Jay, could you move on to the next slide? You can keep going to the next one, actually. So our Grafton Public Schools strategic plan is what guides all of our work at the pre-K to 1 level. And pretty much, as you all know, we've presented before, our work is a holistic approach that looks at instruction that sparks a curiosity and builds foundational skills of our young students, the well-being of our students that supports both their emotional, social emotional, and physical growth, and also connection, which fosters a sense of community and belonging. Those three things are embedded into our Grafton strategic plan, and they are really the crux of what we do each and every day at the pre-K to 1 level. So we're going to talk a little bit about literacy. You can keep going, Jay. So last year, we piloted various literacy curricula here in Grafton Public Schools across the elementary levels, and we came to EL as the curriculum that we were going to move forward with this year. So to tell you a little bit about our why, at this level. Why we decided this? It's because the program really builds a strong foundation for lifelong literacy. We are looking at trying to provide all students the tools and the opportunity to become confident readers. And we look at the simple view of reading as a way to be able to do that for every single student that comes through our door. So we're looking at helping them to learn how to decode. We're looking at their ability to understand and use language comprehension to then develop a full-scale ability to understand their reading comprehension. So along those lines, we have Kristen Perrone, who is one of our amazing coaches in the area of literacy as well as math. And then we have our literacy specialists, Lauren McNoyan, Jill Recchia, Sarah Thompson, and Gail Killian, who work across both North and South Grafton, who are working with us to sort of weave everything together to make sure that students have all the different pieces and skills that they need in order to be confident readers, skilled readers, and understand what it is that they are doing and reading each and every day. You probably remember, if you were here over the last year or so, that we've talked to you about the implementation of Heggerty and Foundations at the preschool level. We've continued to consistently use both of those as we've determined that they certainly have strengthened our youngest students' foundational skills. And for those who might not be familiar, Heggerty establishes phonological awareness, which is a prerequisite skill to decoding, while Foundations introduces early phonics skills and concepts, as well as letter sound recognition. Together, the targeted instruction approach that we're using with our preschoolers, we feel like provides them with essential skills for pre-reading, not only at their age, but as they transition into kindergarten, helping them to be more confident, helping them to have a smooth transition, and in general, building their skill set for being solid readers as they move forward. So we talked a little bit, I mentioned that we're using EL education, and you've probably heard a little bit about that at this point in time because I think the other schools 2 through 6 have all shared. But EL is a research-based program that promotes deeper learning through inquiry-based, student-centered instruction. And we have been doing a ton of work with EL, you can keep going, Jay, around how to incorporate EL, learning about it. Our teachers have been learning about it, special education teachers, general education teachers, our reading teachers, everyone, to make sure that we are implementing it as best we can with our students. So in order, no, you can stay right there. In order to look at that Grafton Public Schools strategic plan and then align with what the needs are for our students, this slide sort of gives a comparison around what is it that our district is looking to do and how is that going to impact our students. One of the major pieces is around deeper literacy and deeper texts that will help build and strengthen the knowledge of our students and the world around them, whether it be through science, social studies, and or just literature. Some of the themes carry across grade levels. So you might have heard from the 2 to 6 buildings what they're working on. The themes at each of our grade levels go from K to 1 to 2, and they just continue to get deeper and extend upon the learning that from the earlier age groups. So if you have a child in kindergarten, recently they've been, or they finished up recently their weather unit of study, whereas first grade finished up their study on the sun, the moon, and the stars. And now they've been moving into kindergarten they're becoming researchers, learning about living versus non-living and how living things, what they need in order to grow. Whereas first grade is doing quite a bit of research on birds, which we'll talk a little bit more about as we get into Project Lead the Way, because there's a nice connection between the two there as well. Another area that touches upon our district goals as well as the impact on students is strong collaboration. One of the nice pieces of EL is that it provides a number of different protocols for the teachers and students to use for discussion and to collaborate with one another. And so these opportunities allow for our students to have a voice, to make sure that they are a participant in all discussions, to learn and to use active listening skills, and more importantly, to reflect on all of their learning as they're coming around at the end of each and every one of them. What that allows them to do is really take ownership of their learning. It helps them to understand at a deeper level what they're talking about, and so those protocols have become embedded into the daily learning and daily activities of each of the students and classrooms. So rolling out EL has been it's been a thing. As with rolling out any curriculum, it's never an easy task, and so much has gone into it. And really super thankful for Jen Mannion and Kristen Perrone, and even some of the people that are up at the 2 to 6 buildings as well, because there's been so much support around making sure that the professional development that we're doing is meaningful, purposeful, and is aligning to our hopes for being able to utilize this program. Nothing is, things like this don't come easy. So there's been some glitches in the road, obviously, and we've worked with that. But primarily, we've used our half-day PD. That has certainly been a major focal point for us, to be able to learn more about the programming and where we're going with it. We've provided all teachers, I believe K-5, release time over the course of the year, three different sets of release time to be able to look at lesson internalization. So looking at the module ahead or lessons ahead to be able to really break down what is going into each of those lessons to better understand what teachers need to do to prepare to be able to teach them. We've gone on observations at 2 different schools and been able to see people that have been using EL for quite some period of time, as well as others who are only in year 2. But even year 2 is a major difference from year 1 when you're switching over to an entirely different curriculum. So it's been really nice to collaborate, particularly with Beale Street and Shrewsbury, and be able to learn from some of the folks there that have been doing it for a little bit longer than us. And then lastly, we've worked to try and have all of our teachers, and we're not quite there yet, but we're close to it, have all of our teachers internally just observing each other, because they're working through a new curriculum, and it's one thing to be doing it on a daily basis and seeing what you're doing, but it's another thing to be able to see other people do it and just be able to sit back and not have to worry about the planning and preparation part, just to be able to observe and realize okay, I'm doing that exactly the same way, or I could tweak this a little bit based on what you see there. So that's been a nice opportunity as well. And we're going into a half day tomorrow, and our focus will be on writing across the curriculum within EL. So there is a video in this from South Grafton. I don't think I'm going to be able to play it because it's embedded into this PowerPoint, unlike the other one. So, but it's a nice little clip of the teacher working with the students in that classroom. So I'm sure we could probably share that out in some way, shape, or form after this. But some of the things that we've noticed anecdotally using EL, and again, it's only been, we've only been doing it for a few months, but we've definitely noticed an increase in explicit instruction around totally context-rich vocabulary. So that's been incredibly nice. We've noticed students engaging with texts that have real-world connections beyond what we might have been seeing before. And there's a huge focus on high-quality work, which I would say definitely result in a deeper understanding, of the content for our students. And things like just saying high quality, teaching kids what is high quality art, what is high quality writing, what is high quality instruction, all of that, and having them understand what the definition of high quality is in that moment, in that lesson, has been really impactful. And it's been fun walking around and hearing kindergartners talking about the high quality work that they're doing. And, it's high quality because they took feedback from a peer and they added, apples to their tree, or they took feedback from a peer and they edited a sentence, in their journal. So I think that that's been really nice. And that aligns with the first thing that I said in terms of vocabulary. We've seen a huge increase in the vocabulary that we're introducing to students and that students are using and applying. Back. You skipped one. All right. And then just in general, and these pictures were not taken, with the idea that they would be used for this presentation. I think one of the things that has been really nice is that the kids have really shown a sense of pride and ownership in the work that they're doing, and they're seeing it's, it started off in the first module, and Kelly's here, she can probably nod her head if she agrees, but in the first module, it felt at first like we might be listening to the same passage, one too many times, or we might be talking about the same topic, and we had just, talked about it, for 2 days prior. But as they've come to the end, and in particular, this last module, module 2 for K and 1, we were able to bring buddy classrooms together to share out their learning. And I think that really, it was a nice moment for us to see that, yes, it might have felt like there was, a lot or repetitive instruction at times, but it really resonated with kids, and they were able to share with their class, with their opposite grade level peers what it was that they were working on, what it was that was right in their writing in their journals, and they took a lot of pride in that and a significant amount of ownership. And I think that that's an important thing that we love to see our kids, take some ownership over their learning, and it can only help them as they move forward. All right. The other area that we wanted to highlight this year is Project Lead the Way. And so we have 3 teachers at our level that have really taken the reins along Project Lead the Way. And we have 2 of them here today. We have Kelly Carr, first grade teacher, and we have Kim Dufo, who works across both buildings as our technology teacher. And then Mrs. Sutton from South Grafton Elementary, first grade as well. We started sometime last year, Project Lead the Way came into discussions mostly around technology and incorporating it into our technology curriculum. And Kim was right on board, immediately ready, to sign up for the trainings and to be a part of it and to extend what we've already been doing in the computer lab. And then before we got to that point, that was right after school got out, I was talking to Kelly Carr about it, and she immediately was like, well, what can we do to do this in the grade levels too? Like, we want to see what we can do with this with regards to science. And because it's a STEM-based, curricula. And so talking with Jen Mannion, said, we have teachers that are interested already. And it was a little preemptive for that, but we were able to have one teacher at each school be a part of that training and then also pilot one module this year in science. And so Kelly and Michelle took that on, and we'll talk more about how amazing it's been across both tech and grade 1. So if you don't know what Project Lead the Way is, it is a STEM-based curricula that focuses on modules that are designed to engage students in hands-on, real-world learning and experiences that are related to STEM fields. So just by virtue of that, it goes across both technology and science. It involves project-based learning where students are working to solve problems, use critical thinking, and collaboration to complete some form of a project. So the nice piece about Project Lead the Way for our younger learners, and I'm sure for the older kiddos too, is that every module has some sort of problem based within it and a story that they work through to then problem solve, create, design, and move, try to solve that problem. And I think that's something that I've had the opportunity to see at the first grade level because I've been a part of those classes. The kids really like that. It's nice to have a problem. It's nice for them to be able to really work through something as opposed to just learn something. They're figuring it out on their own. They're coming to their own learning. Jay, you can pop to the next slide if you want. So Project Lead the Way has really, it takes on a different look, I think, in both technology and in the first grade classrooms. Obviously, with regards to technology, they're on the computers, they're using the iPads, and it's more digital based versus in the first grade classrooms, we're looking more at some of those connections between the module that they're working on is Designs by Nature. So they're looking at how does nature inspire us to be innovators and create from within nature. And we have some students here that are going to help us learn a little bit about that as well. These are some pictures of our kiddos, both across South and North, working on a coding activity, I believe, early stages of learning coding. And so this was probably about a month ago where they started this. And, obviously there's pictures, there's pencils, there's no iPads and no technology right now. And then I was just in this class, one of these classrooms, this past Friday, last Thursday, and they've now moved on to actually building the code within the computer, within the iPad in the app. So it's been pretty neat. It's a nice progression for the students, and they certainly love it. That type of stuff comes naturally to our kiddos at this, in this day and age. But they're going to continue to progress and move forward and learn even more about that. And I'm sure we're going to see them for years to come building programs that we never even knew were going to exist at this point in time. In the first grade classrooms, like I said, we're looking more at the science curriculum and how to incorporate Project Lead the Way with regards to that. And so we have one of the themes that they have been working on right now is biomimicry and looking at nature as a source of inspiration, as I said. So they're really looking at observation, they're looking at inquiry, they're looking at the design process. They're trying to figure out, when looking at different things in nature, how did they help create different objects that are now in use, investigating those and or building them on their own. So they've done a couple different projects right now that have been entirely fun, and I've had the pleasure of being a part of every one of the lessons for first grade with Mrs. Carr. So it's been really neat and impactful to watch the progression over time. They love the design process, and we have a couple kiddos back here who have been a significant part of it. One who's in the picture, one who you'll see in a video pretty soon. But it's been really neat to see, to just sort of step back. Mrs. Carr does an outstanding job of laying the foundation for the instruction, but then really, like, we were able to sort of just hang back and watch and see what the kids were able to do in their initial creations, and then when they actually built their prototypes, and then going back to be able to reflect on them and change them as needed and refine them. That's been a pretty awesome opportunity, and the kids really seem to enjoy it. So we do have a great little clip that we're going to share with you of two students, Bradley and Emma, just answering some questions and talking a little bit about their experience with Project Lead the Way.
Emailed it?
I did. Did you get it?
Hold on. This is the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yes. It says click here.
And then it says, oops, something went wrong.
Did you get the oops, something went wrong?
Yep.
We've tried this link so many times. Works for some, but not others. I think it's a Grafton Public Schools block or something.
Try it on Safari.
I'm still in the Zoom. Let's see. Is it possible if I just turn my computer?
Sure, sure.
Kick it old.
High
We'll
tech.
try everything.
We can try everything, right? So I have to turn my. Is it okay if I turn my volume back up?
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Good morning, Brad. How are you today?
No,
No good.
it is not okay.
You want to try logging in here with this?
I could try.
Can't hurt, right?
That was very surreal.
Little Twilight Zone. Thank you for your patience. We will
All
get
right.
there.
So now we gotta go out into Zoom, share screen.
Oh.
So just bring it down.
Sorry, bring that down too.
Go on that. Share screen.
There. We're getting closer, folks.
Yeah.
Make sure my volume's off on that. Okay.
Look at that. Yay, success.
Good.
Excellent. Thank you for joining me. We are going to talk a little bit about Project Lead the Way, which you have been participating in with Mrs. Carr in first grade this year. Project Lead the Way is a STEM program, right? You're doing some science projects. And are you also working on Project Lead the Way in Mrs. Dufo's class?
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so we have some questions that we're going to ask you. I'm going to start with Emma first. And I'm going to ask you, Emma, some questions, and then we're going to switch, and Bradley's going to answer some questions too. So, Emma, what is your favorite animal that you've learned about in Project Lead the Way? And what did you learn about how it helps design things?
Tasmanian devil. When a Tasmanian devil gets mad, its ears turn red.
No kidding, it turns red?
Yeah,
That's
its ears
neat.
turn red.
Very cool. Bradley, what about you? What's one of your favorite animals, and what have you
Jackrabbit-
learned about it?
A jackrabbit. A jackrabbit ears are so big and full of blood vessels to keep them cool.
Ah, very neat. Very neat. Emma, did you build anything in Project Lead the Way that looks like something in nature? What did you make and how did it work?
I built a mole ears that can turn all the way around so they can sense predators close by. They looked good. They could turn back and forth and out and I love this project.
You did. I remember you made those animal ears that turned all the way around. What else have you made this past week in Project Lead the Way? Did you make something, a face to put on scarecrows?
Yes, we made a design of false eyes.
Could you show us what you made, your design of false eyes? Oh, so cool. Very neat. Thank you, Emma. And Bradley, what about you?
I built animal ears similar to a jackrabbit. They work great. I like the engineering process.
Yeah, I remember you told me you want to be an engineer when you're older, right? Very cool. And did you make a scarecrow mask with false eyes as well?
Yeah.
Can you show us yours? Excellent. Nice job. All right. Emma, did you draw any pictures of animals in Project Lead the Way? And which was your, if so, which was your favorite one to draw and why?
My favorite was the kingfisher. I like it because it can dive into water and get fish really easily.
Very neat. And Bradley, I have a feeling, did you choose the kingfisher too?
Yeah.
That was a popular one. What did you like about the kingfisher?
My favorite was the kingfisher. I like the connection between the kingfisher and the bullet train. And the kingfisher's beak was just like the front of the bullet train.
Yeah, so a bullet train was designed based on the kingfisher bird.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. That's definitely a design learned from nature. Emma, if you could design something new inspired by nature, what would it be and what animal would you use for your idea?
I would try to create something similar to the bald eagle's beak and wings because the beak is looks so cool because it is hooked. That makes it easier to rip up food to feed their babies. I like the wings because they look so soft and they show where the feathers are to keep the babies warm.
Awesome. That sounds pretty cool. Bradley, what about you? What would you design?
I would create a train that could go underwater. There would be a tube and pillars so it doesn't fall down. And the train would be similar to the bullet train so it could go super fast through the tube.
Oh, I love that. So you'd use that kingfisher again to create a bullet train that could go underwater even faster?
Mhm.
Very cool. And Emma, last question. Did you like learning about how nature helps us create things?
Yes, I never knew about the kingfisher or bullet train, and I think it's really cool that they thought about creating the train based on the animal.
I love that. What about you, Bradley?
Yes, I knew that some things were based on things in nature. I knew about the bullet train being created, like the kingfisher. I like learning new things.
Awesome. Well, Bradley and Emma, thank you so much for sharing. We're hoping to help other people understand all about the work that you are doing in Project Lead the Way, and I think you just gave them a great idea. So thank you so much. So, yes, they do. They deserve a round of applause for sure. I think just one. Oh, sorry, two more slides. So Project Lead the Way has had an impact on our students, and it was nice to be able to hear from the kids what they were thinking and what they want to do moving forward, because they have some great ideas, and certainly the Eagles in California give us a little bit more food for thought. Emma was talking a little bit about that, but we've really enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to hopefully being able to do more in the future with it. So first grade has both done one module, and Kim is working with our both grade levels on a module in technology, and we're looking forward to seeing how it progresses moving forward. All right. So I think the next slide, if I'm correct, takes us to SGS highlights. And I believe Mrs. Wallace shared out with you the slide and probably a little bit about what was going on over there. And I just, I know a little bit about it from just our working together. And I know one of the things that they're super proud of and that they've worked on recently is random acts of kindness. Both SGS and NGS, our PBS, are working towards having PBIS programs in our schools. And so this was a nice part of their PBIS program to inspire and try and create a ripple effect of kindness throughout the school, both in the school and at home for students. Again, looking at building upon and promoting well-being and connection. So that was certainly something that they did that they're very proud of and looking forward to. We're looking forward to sharing with you. Another piece that she shared was Tashi, the therapy dog, who has been coming in on Fridays to visit at school. Again, looking at connection and well-being with our students, and the dogs are able to go through every classroom from now until the end of the year. So we're looking forward to everyone having the opportunity to read with and get to meet Tashi. And Tashi has a sibling. There's another one, I can't remember their name. But there are two of them that are taking turns coming in. And so obviously that's looking at creating those positive childhood experiences, those PCEs. You probably heard Roseanne talk about them. And it's something that they wanted to highlight. And then the last slide are some of the highlights from NGES. We've had another great year as well, and looking at, we're in our third and final year of implementation of our PBIS program, and so both South and North are wrapping up. There's one more meeting with the Department of Ed and the May Institute, the program that we've been working with for the last 3 years. And, we feel like we've done a really nice job in North Grafton solidifying and creating a plan around this so that all teachers, whether they're coming and going from another school or if you're a substitute, you have an idea of what it is our expectations are and what it looks like, sounds like, feels like on any given day at NGS. So a couple of the pictures that we just shared out, our amazing PTG hooked us up with new t-shirts for the Rookery this year. And so we make sure that we use those on Spirit Days as often as we can. We have students earning different ways to be helpers around the school as part of our PBIS program. So our buddy Ekram down there had earned being a bus helper, so he was in charge of walking students out to the bus. Our staff also, we look to try and reinforce throughout the year, and so we have a penguin parking spot that Mrs. Kasparidis just recently got. And then whole grade level type activities. We had a picnic lunch earlier this fall. I'm sure we'll be having some once the weather gets a little bit better, warmer outside as well. And then just some fun activities, hide and go seek with penguins. We look to hide 100 penguins around the school whenever we can. We have them set for all different events and holidays and whatnot for the students to find in their, at the K1 level. Obviously, we're working on skills such as counting from 1 to 100. So it's a nice opportunity to reinforce some of those academic skills while tapping into the social and emotional skills as well. And that is all I have for you. So thank you so much. Apologize for some of the technical glitches.
Not at all.
Thank you for your patience. I think we got to everything except for there was one quick video of EL in action, but hopefully we can share that with you. I'm sure Melissa has it. She can send the link out to you when she's feeling better. Any
Great.
questions?
Questions from the committee?
Madam Chair.
Rebecca.
Thank you. Hi. I have a kindergarten at South, so my comments are a little bit skewed, but I just wanted to give a little bit of feedback that my daughter specifically was looking forward so much to reading to the first graders. Like she talked about it for weeks ahead of time. So like she doesn't talk about reading. So, like that was
Absolutely.
amazing. And she also said randomly today, she's like, Papa, do you know that my school is a kindness school? Like they're proud of what you
Yeah,
guys are doing.
absolutely.
And it's really it really makes me happy. So
Absolutely. And I think in the hecticness of getting started, and with Melissa not being able to be here, I didn't actually say it, explicitly, but everything that was presented tonight was presented from both South and North. EL is obviously happening in both schools. Project Lead the Way is happening in both schools, and we're collaborating on a daily basis to try and make it as best we can at both schools. So yeah, they should be proud of the work that they're doing because it's pretty amazing.
and so should you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Chair.
I'm gonna go down this way,
Absolutely.
Christy, and then we'll go that way.
Hi, Julie. First off, I just want to thank Bradley and Emma because they really stole that presentation away from you. Sorry, Julie.
It's okay. I said earlier, I should have just brought the kids to talk in general and not done a video because they really do. And Layla as well. Her pictures were up there because she did an outstanding job on those animal years back
Yeah,
then.
thank you, Layla, and thank you, Bradley. I'm excited to see how your years go ahead in becoming an engineer. I spoke with Melissa Wallace today because she did send the email, and she was talking about the positive behavior intervention support, that PBIS, and we were speaking about how at her school they do rewards and they lead up to something. Does that happen in your school as well?
Yes, yeah, same. So we have we both have different sort of systems in place, but they're similar yet different. So they have Ollie and Ollie Owls and Ollie tickets. We have Waddles the Penguin, and the way that it works is kids are earning on a daily basis. Kids can earn positive penguin prints for being kind, safe, and responsible. And whenever they get a penguin print, they get to put a pom-pom in their classroom jar. Once their classroom fills their jar, they get to do some sort of whole group classroom activity. And then once the entire grade level, for example, first grade just finished today, all 5 classes filled the grade level bucket in the office. So now they'll get to do a grade level activity, such as I think the last time first grade did a whole group snack in the cafeteria. So rather than just regular snack in your classroom, everybody came out to the cafeteria. You could sit with whoever you want. And so we do things like that. And then on a monthly basis, when we come together as an all school, we have a raffle for each grade level for some sort of reinforcement, such as being able to be the line leader for buses, or being able to eat with a friend at lunch, or fast pass at lunch to be able to go to the front of the line.
Okay.
So
But
similar.
you never get turned into an ice cream sundae like Melissa?
So that was part of our I have done that multiple times now. Too many to count
All right.
probably, but we did do that as part of the fun run, the principal's challenge for the fun run. Yes.
Okay. And then one more quick question. Do you still have like a Genius Hour program? Is that still?
Not directly, no. Indirectly, within the context of the classroom, teachers are doing different things to differentiate for kids and what they need. So, like, I can think of one first grade classroom, actually two, because there's one behind me too, that they have kids that are working at higher level reading, and they've moved into chapter books and reading groups and are working together to do something like that. But not. I know South Grafton had Genius Hour. I want to say 5-6 years ago, so it's not a standalone, but it's more something that they're doing in the context of their classrooms.
Okay, thank you.
Laura.
Thank you. Julia and Melissa, thank you for that wonderful presentation. Great work as always, and it was delightful. I also wanted to shout out to Bradley and Emma. Layla? And Layla, hello. I know you were blocked by the chair for me, so it's nice to see your face. And Bradley, I had a little boy who was in 1C who wants to be an engineer as well, and is now looking at colleges to go for engineering. So you are well on the right track to be an engineer from 1C. I wanted to shout out to our teachers, especially, and Kristen and Jen, for implementing a new curriculum this year, as well as Project Lead the Way, kind of at the same time. That's a lot, and it looks like it's going well, understanding, of course, that there's, of course, learning, like that's what we're all about, trying new things and learning new things. And I was so excited to hear more about Project Lead the Way. I've been kind of just waiting to hear about it. And I had a question about, I know it was funded through a grant. Does that mean I feel like I should know this, but when the grant money is are we just doing it for while we have the grant, or is this something we can continue on through?
So we have.
years.
Oh, I was going to say.
Jen Mannion?
The grant is a 3-year process.
Yeah.
Implementation to lead to all students experiencing 2 PLTW experiences within the school year. The grant covers all professional development and training, the durables and the consumables for those 3 years. And then we have a 5-year financial plan for what the district will have to purchase to sustain it from that point on. So we'll just keep extending that 5-year plan. So I do that with Kathleen Montgomery.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great to hear. So if you couldn't hear, Jen said the grant covered the teaching and the supplies. I'm going to boil it down. And we have a plan, a 5-year plan to keep it going. So thank you. And thanks to everybody who just really took it and got excited, and to Kim and Michelle and Kelly for just jumping in on this, and Jen, of course. It was just great to see how exciting and just bringing learning come to life.
Absolutely.
Awesome work. Thank you, as always. And thanks, just shout out to both teams.
Our teachers are like tremendous rock stars this year. It
Yeah.
has been a whirlwind of a year with learning EL in of itself, and then adding Project Lead the Way
Yep.
is an add-on. But they love to learn, and so that's the best part about it. You know, they're right there wanting to learn, figuring things out, figuring out what's working, what's not working, and identifying ways to make things better. So they're awesome. They're amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you.
We're lucky.
And we're lucky to have you and Melissa as well. Thank you.
Madam Chair? Yes.
Awesome presentation, super exciting. Everybody was fabulous. Videos, in person, everybody. So can you tell me what EL replaces?
Yes. So historically, for probably beyond my time here in Grafton, we've used the Daily Five and Cafe
Yep.
as the sort of structure of how we teach literacy, and so this has been a shift that we've been talking about for the last couple of years, and moving to a high quality instructional material, and that is what EL is.
And what sort of surprises you about it in practice, right? What kind of...
So a major difference from sort of small group rotation, Kelly, feel free to jump into to what they're doing now is there's a lot more whole class instruction, and a lot more of expectations of kids learning in ways that look a little bit different than what we've done in the past. Not entirely. At first there was a lot of thought around like it's a lot of sitting to learn, but there's so many protocols embedded into the learning that they're getting up and working with each other, discussing with each other, and coming back to the learning, that it's not as much sitting as maybe we thought in the first place, but it does look different in terms of small group instruction and the amount of time in the past that we've had working with those small groups. That now is we do that now during our WIN time, which is a separate time from our EL instruction time.
So how does that translate into sort of personalizing the experience for kids at different levels? Like how does it individualize?
So right now we're working on learning the implementation part of the curriculum, and part of it is learning where can we add those scaffolds in for one kiddo who needs it, or two kiddos that need it, different, across the board. So that's part of the learning that we're doing right now. And actually, as part of our observation in Shrewsbury, with a teacher she was in year 2 or 3 of it, she's just getting to that point now, so it's good for us to see like we're doing a great job where we're at right now, and that's where we're headed. So there will be more of that in years to come.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other questions on the committee? Thank you so much. Thank you for putting up with the tech issues, and thank you for being so patient.
Thank you so much for having us.
Shout out to Melissa. Hope you feel better.
Yes, absolutely.
See you next year. Hopefully sooner, but you'll be back. Next, we have the teaching and learning report from Jen Mannion. Is that right? Yes.
Better luck, Jen.
Thanks. Welcome.
Right? I said that was me last time, or the time before. So.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
It's not you, Jen.
Not off the hook yet.
Don't worry.
But thank you for having me. I'm excited to speak to you with a quick curriculum update. And you're going to hear a lot of overlaps between my presentation and Julie's. We probably should have sat down and worked on it together. You're going to think we did. I swear we didn't, but I think that that's good because it's going to reinforce the authenticity of what was shared and what's happening across the district. So I know that Dr. Cummings regularly updates you on progress toward the goals of the district strategic plan. And for people in my role, this time of year means providing the Department of Ed progress on our Student Opportunity Act plan. Student SOA, another acronym from the world of ed. So the SOA plan is a subset of the district strategic plan initiatives, and it identifies specific areas for focus, evidence-based programs and strategies that will impact specific subgroups of students, impact outcomes. So Grafton is focusing on 3 evidence-based practices this year, inclusive, it's a 3-year plan. We're in year 1 of the 3-year plan. Inclusive curriculum adoption process, supporting curriculum implementation, and authentic post-secondary planning. So I'm just going to give you an overview of our progress towards these goals as they relate to district plan and growth across the district. So the first one, inclusive curriculum adoption. And I'm breaking every rule that Jay Cummings taught me when I was a first-year principal about having text on slides. I know these are text heavy, and I don't want to read to you, but this is the first goal in the plan. And we, I think as we shared in the past, when we were selecting resources, we had a rubric that teachers used during the pilot to identify resources that allow for supporting all different learning needs and personalizing the instruction. So this photo is of Sarah Scanlon. She's a middle school math teacher, and we have done a lot of observation in all the classrooms. And in Sarah's room, this is a co-taught classroom, and you would not know walking in that it's a co-taught classroom. Every student in the room is accessing grade level curriculum. There's different scaffolds in place. Students are engaged in discourse. Teachers providing feedback, working through student work samples, kids, we call it failing forward, making mistakes and using those to grow and learn. So I think the inclusivity component of the HQIMs is really apparent in the teaching that we're seeing across the district. So right now our focus has been primarily language arts, ELA, and math, but you heard a lot about PLTW, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, as well as some social studies things that we're looking at. So that's the goal. Here's the progress. We've done a lot of in-depth professional development focused on implementing in terms of the inclusivity element of it. It's done through professional development from the vendor. Our curriculum coordinators provide professional development. We do coaching with teaching teams or teachers to get people to really utilize the resources the way that they're intended. And we've made progress in terms of communication, in terms of getting feedback through conversations, dialogue with teachers and students, as well as surveys. This photo, it's funny that this photo is the one I chose, is Kelly Carr, teaching project lead the way, and Julie in the corner. Because one of the things that has really driven our progress is the investment of our district leadership. They're in classrooms, observing, giving feedback, learning alongside teachers about what makes these materials high quality and how to use them. So I'm going to talk some more about that too. But I love this lesson because if you walked in, you would have thought, oh, first grade, they're playing with pom-poms and pipe cleaners and glue, and it's everywhere, and there's feathers and first grade. Until you started talking to the students who were all wearing I'm an engineer badges. And I asked them what they were up to, and they told me that they had to design ears that served a different function based on their structure. And then they started listing all the constraints and using that language with me. And so they spent their time really in the design process, which they knew they were engaged in and why they were doing it. So pretty incredible. Our next steps towards this goal, continued targeted professional development. So tomorrow, our math teachers, 6 to 12, are going to be working on continuing how to unpack and internalize the elements of the lesson to customize for students. Our special education staff and our ESL teachers are receiving professional development from the vendor specific to how to utilize the resource to meet the needs of diverse learners. And then we'll do the same thing with our language arts teachers. They're going to dive into using the resource to promote writing across the curriculum tomorrow, but they'll have that next layer of support as well. Continued instructional coaching and looking at getting to the point where teachers are able to lead up So EL Education has lots of resources, and one of our coordinators came across this idea of change teams. And I think it's based on the idea that everybody does something well and nobody does everything well. So getting each teacher to be part of a change team. So this teacher is good at pacing the lesson. This teacher's good at using the assessment data, that kind of thing. So that they start to coach each other during their teaching and learning meetings. And extended communication to include a family survey around feedback in terms of implementation, adoption, and how we're doing. Our next goal was around supporting curriculum implementation, providing teachers and support staff with professional development linked directly to these evidence-based practices that we're talking about, and establishing processes to monitor the effectiveness of our implementation with a lens on the subgroup achievement and growth. So this photo is one of our coordinators, Paige Cooper, who works with the humanities teachers 7 to 12, and she's working with special educators from the middle school, and they are designing lessons, doing lesson internalization so that all students are accessing grade level content despite the fact that this is a sub-separate classroom setting. So that's a big shift, one that we're really proud of. And if you could see these teachers work around the table, like just their steam coming out and they're enthused, and it's really incredible and awesome. So progress, we've been working with TNTP, which used to be the New Teacher Project, and now they just go by TNTP, to help develop a really refined and productive process. So we have engaged district leadership in collection of observational data. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that, analysis and action steps. Our team has created tools for collection and analysis of data, really focusing on standards and instruction right now. And we, with the ESL teachers, I worked with them to create a progress monitoring tool that they're sharing with teachers around the WEDER frameworks and look-fors, so that they can have more consistent communication on 4 to 6 week inquiry cycles instead of waiting till report cards come out to connect with each other. So next steps are to take our tools and our systems that we've created and make them become part of the routine of how we do business here in Grafton, so that we see cohesion across the district in terms of these processes. We'll review and revise curriculum and instruction based on that analysis of data. It's hard the first year because there's so much emotion with implementing new resources. So we're going to use that emotion and pair it with the data that we have to figure out changes and then make those in a cohesive, collaborative way rather than in silos. And focus professional development on how to employ the HQIM to better meet the needs of our students with disabilities and our multi-language learners. And we need to do an analysis of our low-income student status data as well to see the impact there in our next steps. So part of our process is we do regular walkthroughs and collect observational data. It's done digitally, and then TNTP collects that data, synthesizes it for us, and then we have leader learning meetings, and we go through the data and analyze with building administrators, coordinators, department heads. So you can see some of the shifts in our data. They have done, we are just coming up on our 3rd site visit. So between site visit 1 and 2, and there's 14 indicators. I just picked 3 that showed significant growth. So using precise mathematical language particularly impacts our English language learners and students with language-based disabilities. Students exhibiting key mathematical practices while engaging in the content of the lesson, so understanding the mathematical practices K to 12 and beyond and implementing. And then instruction that's based on lessons from the adopted materials. You can see a big shift there. It's hard to let go of all the things that you've done as a teacher, tried and true, and take on this new resource with integrity, but we saw a seismic shift there, so that was great. In an effort to continue to create cohesion around the work and the routines, we created tools for administrators to use. So we have a data collection tool. These are just sample ones for a learning walk in math classrooms, and then a reflection tool for teachers to use following the walkthrough so they can talk about what was observed and what works well, what they attribute that to and will do more of, and what they're working on, where they need support. The nice thing about this is we have really come in with a laser lens and kind of zoomed in on what are the high impact practices in terms of implementation with the resource. So we're doing very concrete look fors. And I read a quote that said if the teacher can't apply the learning within that next week, it's not bite-sized enough, because we're trying to really give them small, manageable chunks. So we worked on the warm-up. Is it extending beyond the 5 minutes allocated in the pacing guide? If it is, there's a domino effect, and we're not implementing with the quality that we need to. So we've seen a big shift in the length of the warm-up and implementation of the warm-up. And then using student work samples was an area where we underperformed. So you can see site visit 1, no blue. we're shooting for dark blue, and we got into the light blue in site visit 2. So that was an area our data identified that we need to do some work on. So it was communicated with teachers, conversation around what's it look like, what could it look like, and then administrators this past month have done the walkthroughs with the form, looking for pacing and use of student work. So this is an example of a shift. And now we write on the tables, legit, like we're allowed to. But these students were engaged in incredible discourse around their solutions with each other, not with teacher at the hub. It was students at the hub, which is a big part of these high quality instructional material shifts. Our third goal is around high quality secondary pathways and programs to address the self-reported low student engagement levels and high absenteeism rates among our identified student groups via designation and further development of the Innovative Pathways program, increasing the relevance of the high school experience with real-world application and hands-on student experience, and continuing to increase the number of dual enrollment courses offered. This picture, sidebar, the PLTW teachers, the STEM coordinators, Mr. Starcheski and I attended the PLTW Spring Conference last week, and this is our very own Chris Miller presenting to her colleagues. So pathway participation, nice leap there. Last year there were 12 students. This year there are 45 participating. Last year there was 1 student from a low performing subgroup. This year there are 4, so we can anticipate seeing that trend continue. Dual enrollment, there were 5 courses offered last year. Those same 5 courses are offered again this year, and looking at how to expand. And then PLTW, as you know, we have implemented a K-8 and are expanding so that we're increasing the number of modules K-6. And we received a grant to expand into the high school, so we'll be offering engineering essentials at the high school next year, with the understanding that that will continue to grow and evolve as well. So we're super psyched about that. So this is just a little bit of yay Grafton. The Mass Learning Project is associated with 1-8 and Project Lead the Way, and they're launching a teacher leader cohort focused on celebrating student work, and Grafton was selected to participate because of our engagement with Project Lead the Way and the commitment of our teachers and leaders and the enthusiasm of our students. So that's exciting, and I can't wait to see how that plays out. In addition, we are going to be implementing the Democratic Knowledge Project at the middle school. This is social studies curriculum. It's a partnership with Harvard and focuses on the civics instruction. So DKP, PLTW are all part of the Applied Learning Suite, or Applied Learning trend in education, I guess you'd say. And it's the real world application. How do you apply that back to your academic pursuits so that students understand the transfer of the skills beyond the classroom and then back to the classroom. So how's this all working? So I thought we'd just do a quick overview of our longitudinal STAR data. Couple things to note. You often expect to see a dip when you're implementing new resources because teachers are learning while they're teaching it, having to learn how to use it. And we are not looking at our subgroups in this data yet because we know we're putting all the building blocks in place. And right now, my department is more looking at performance towards the standards, and I'm going to explain that in a minute, how it's going to trickle down to looking at personalized and individual data on students. And the third thing is this data is comparing 2022, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, but the first 2 years, it's fall to spring data. 24, 25, you're just looking at fall to winter data, so we know we see much greater growth when we look fall to spring than when we look fall to winter. So just keep that in the back of your mind. And we don't have longitudinal data for grade 1. So we're looking to reduce the yellow and the red, increase the green and the blue. This is our grade 2. So what you're looking at is the same students from grade 1 to grade 2. And this is grade 3, from first grade to second grade to third grade. And this is reading. Grade 4, similar trend. Grade 5. Grade 6 reading. This is 7th grade. 8th grade. 9th grade. And 10th grade. I'll take you through the math quickly as well.
Could I ask a question?
Of course.
So if we look at the third grade reading, star reading grade 3.
Yep.
It looks like if we were looking at the green is what we want, right? The green and blue. Is that right? Green and blue.
Yep.
Okay. So the green got less in
Yeah, you see an increase in the blue there, a little bit
Yeah.
less in the green,
yeah.
and decrease in the yellow and the red. So a decrease in the number of students partially meeting and then number of students below.
Okay. All right, just clarification. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think I left off at math. I'm sorry if this is making anybody seasick. There's grade 3 math, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6. And one thing to note about grade 6 is they're using the accelerated version of illustrative math, which includes 6th grade and 7th grade standards, and still seeing great gains for our learners. Our 6th grade teachers are just smashing it. 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade. So in terms of next steps, what are those colors, what do those bars mean? This is some of the work that our department is doing. So we're doing what I call data triangulation. So on the far right, you can see historical data for MCAS, and then star fall data and star winter data. And then we have a column for our classroom data. So what we want to shift from is using star data to make decisions around intervention and curriculum changes. We want to treat it as one data point that makes us curious and comparative, and compare it with what we're seeing in terms of trends with MCAS, and then in the classroom data piece. So in the classroom level, we're looking at the standards and then looking at students' opportunities for independent application and measuring proficiency. And what we want to get to is the point where if we see 80% of students are proficient, we're figuring out what to do with the 20% who are not. If we're seeing 20% are proficient, we're figuring out what to do with them while we go back and do additional teaching with the students who need it, so that we're starting to customize what's our instruction based on what we see the data showing us students need. From that level, looking at standards in the classroom as a cohort, then we can drill down to the next level to look at individual students. So if I see 20% got it, 60% need more instruction, now I'm going to design for those 20%. What do they need? 80% got it, 20% didn't. I'm going to design for those 20%. So teachers are doing a lot when they do the initial unit unpacking. They're looking at the unit, the end outcomes, the tasks, and looking at the information they have on individual learners, and they're designing that way. And then we're shifting to using our data to support revisions, changes, proactive design elements as well. So I'm excited about this becoming part of our routines and practices, and creating cohesion in this approach. And one of our coordinators is taking a grad course, and she shared this slide. And I don't know where this data comes from and how accurate it is, but I sure liked it. So I thought I'd include it. It says research has suggested that without implementation teams using clearly defined implementation methods, it takes 17 years to move approximately half of an intended new initiative into routine practice. Improve an intervention outcomes with an implementation program. So we're shooting for 3 years. Our kids don't have 17 years. We're hoping to do it in 3, and I'm really, really proud of the work our teachers are doing, our coordinators are doing, our administrators are doing, because I think we're getting there. And that's it.
Very much.
Jen, sorry, Madam Chair. Jen, I see that STAR, they offer for grades K through 12. Do we not test past grade 10 for STAR? Like,
It's
see that the
hard with
data-
11 and 12 because of the students don't stay together. They're taking different level courses, and the STAR doesn't necessarily align. So really that we get the most robust data up through grade 10.
Thank you.
You get into more elective offerings, things like that.
Questions from the committee?
Oh, it's really good.
Madam, go ahead. Rebecca.
I had a comment on, well, a comment and a question on the way that you're implementing the how are you teaching teachers to run student-led classrooms? And I'll say from once upon a time I was a teacher and people would always be like, we're going to run student-run classrooms, and it was like, you're going to need to give me more than that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Like and I would have lessons, but I had it nailed. And then other lessons where I'm like, I do not see how I can make this work. And, so I love what I'm hearing, but I'd also love to know how the teachers are, like, how is it happening on the teacher level? How are they,
Yeah.
how is that
I
working?
think that's where that administrative walkthroughs is so important. So Chris Starr and I were in Sarah Scanlon's classroom.
Yep.
And engagement was super high, and we saw an opportunity to make sure all students were engaged independently by using an instructional strategy. And I'm sure Sarah uses it all the time, and she just wasn't using it that day.
Right.
But it was great for us to be able to debrief and then say, hey, and so Chris talked to Sarah, and Sarah did it the next day, and then went back and talked to Chris, and they talked about that process and how it went. And that was on engaging students in discourse with each other more than I think we get into that. I always call it teacher at the hub. So teacher asks a question, student answers, teacher asks, student answers. So I think that is the key, is getting it to so that we're in classrooms all the time and we're talking about the work all the time, and it's not evaluative or gotcha, it's coaching. And principals don't have all the answers. We just need to get people talking. And usually when you get teachers talking, they come up with either a solution or what they need to get to a solution, and then we can get that to them. So I think that shifting those routines is the most important part.
Yeah, and it does seem like it's like, we're sticking with it. So it's like the more you practice it, the more it just becomes natural in your classroom to do it. And
Right.
Get used to those routines. And
Right.
I mean, I appreciate it very
Yep.
much.
And our teachers are so collaborative, so they're really digging in together and helping each other, like sharing challenges and coming up with solutions. I think it's great. It's hard work,
Yes.
but important work and great work.
Leora and Laura.
Really comprehensive presentation. Thank you, Jen. This was great. Yeah. But I had one question about, I was interested in the middle school discussion about, for example, the fact that even kids in a separate classroom are reading the same text. Maybe they're reading a graphic novel version of it or an adapted version. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how it's kind of brought into maybe some more inclusion? So are they taking like the English text, and is it coming into the social studies class where maybe the kids are included? How does that work?
Yeah, I think because the shift to these HQIMs involves, and the shift from science of reading and balanced literacy, which Julie referenced earlier, there's much more content building so that kids have a context to boost comprehension. And there's pushing into complex texts, because I think it used to be, we talked about this earlier, or previous session, it used to bring the level down to where the student was, and now we're trying to raise the student up to the appropriate level of text complexity. So student doesn't necessarily have to read every chapter of the novel. We want to summarize, understand the context of the novel, read chunks of the novel, and then really look at craft and structure. So how is the writing organized? How are things developed? How do things connect? Looking at syntax of sentences, things like that, to really boost all that comprehension. So it doesn't have to happen in a separate resource. It can happen in the same resources that your peers are utilizing. So then extending that into social studies as well. How do we get the content and then support the skills in a way that's grade level appropriate. Did that answer your question?
A little bit, yeah. So is there, I guess, is there like a working towards less sub-separate and more included opportunities?
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely in Nicole McDonald's vision.
Okay.
We always push for least restrictive, and
Yeah.
I always say we work in a research-based profession, so we learn new and then we do new,
Right.
right? So sub-separate was the answer to a problem in the past, and now we're developing an answer based on the research that we know now. Different solution.
It's nice to see because I think it's just much easier, and full inclusion is much easier at the lower grade levels, and middle school is where it starts to become more of a challenge. So it's nice to see that work being done.
Right.
So
And everybody's good at something and nobody's good at everything. So
Yep.
if we're all together, we're all going to benefit from that.
great.
Right.
Really, really exciting stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great presentation. And again, thanks to the team. Wait, I'm asking a question.
Oh, I thought you were just wrapping up.
No,
Sorry.
that would be Amy. I don't wrap up. Ooh, stay, please. I have like 10. No, I just have one couple questions. Now I lost my train of thought. No,
I'm sorry. It was a lovely wrap up.
go ahead, Jen. Just leave. Thanks to your team again, like implementing new curriculum to the teachers. It's a challenge, and I wrote down learn new, do new, coaching. Everybody is good at something. Not everybody's good at everything. That's something I say a lot myself. And kind of along those lines, I know I've heard a lot this year about the new math curriculum from concerned parents, I think, and students, actually. I think there's been an uncomfortable shift because it's definitely very new and it's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable to, as you say, fail forward. It's uncomfortable to struggle sometimes, especially if you're used to not struggling. And I guess I'm trying to find my question is, I guess, how are we moving forward from some of the just growing pains of a new curriculum? And maybe if you could share a little bit of what we've learned new and what we're going to do new, if you know. And I know that you might not know
Do I?
right off, but do you know?
I think I know.
Awesome. I know you know. But
So a little plug for my team.
Awesome.
We have been working with TNT PAPE.
Yeah.
And they partner with Mass Implement, and we've been asked to present our process in session 3 for Mass Implement because
well done.
I think where we excelled was in making the work actionable and measurable. So we created in our implementation plan, we created a table of learns and do's for each role in the district. So my role, principal's role, coordinator's role, teacher's role, and each one we filled in. What does this stakeholder group need to learn and what do they need to be accountable for doing? And then we created a calendar of all the meetings and sort of accountability of what we're doing, what our process is, and that has held us to the work and kept us moving forward. So in our presentation, I have a slide, and I wish I knew then what I know now. Starting to talk about what makes an HQIM sooner and engaging more stakeholders in that, including students, because we've taught students this one way all along, and then, woo, guess what, we're shifting it.
Yeah.
Developing a common language, because what we learned through one of these walkthrough experiences was we said we're looking for use of student work samples in instruction, and that turns out that meant something different to everybody. Everybody had a slightly different visual of what that was. So one of the coordinators did a walkthrough and said, hey, I was surprised to see you not using student work. And the teacher said, what do you mean? I used it the entire time you were in there. So it led to great conversation around what does that mean when you're doing it as a high quality instructional move. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. We talked a lot about the J curve of learning, and I said to my team, like, by January, it's not going to feel so icky and awful. Like, you do just kind of have to go through the curve of learning. So being really transparent about that. I think mourning the loss of, if you were a teacher in the past, you put your heart and soul into creating what is best for kids, and then you implement and you refine. So to be told, like, hey, that's awesome, but here you go. That's a challenge. So we did a good job with that with some teams and not with others as much. So being mindful of that piece of it. I could go on. I have a whole long list of things that we're going to share so that other people don't make the same mistakes that we did or fall into the same pits that we did. But yeah.
Thank you. Well, and thank you, Jen. It's great to have you in this position. It's
Thank you.
nice to have just a fully just focused on curriculum, and it was good that you had some more supports. And
I appreciate that you let me come geek out about curriculum here.
yeah, it's really nice to hear. So thank you. And
Thank you.
It's great that you bring that SEL
Don't move.
kind of to you.
Oh, I won't shut it. I heard about that.
Thank you
all.
again.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have the superintendent mid-year goals report. Mid-year, we've pushed this off a few times. I don't know, we've
Our
been working
mid-year
on other
timing,
stuff.
not great.
No idea.
Yeah, our mid-year timing isn't the greatest ever. Hoping that's, I can't see everybody. It's still on. All right, I'm gonna pretend it is. Yeah, mid-year timing isn't great, being that it's the end of March and well, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I'm gonna guess in 2 weeks, the committee's gonna get a full summary of my goals, progress, lack of progress, whatever for the goals, and, an overview of self-assessment in terms of all of the standards. Goals 1 and 2 that really, other than trying to create the space and the resources, the time for the curriculum team and our staff to do its work, any steps forward in terms of goals 1 and 2 are certainly any and all credit goes to the curriculum team and our entire staff. So I'll get a breakdown of how we did this year in terms of the specific goals with the the STAR results. I'll get that from the curriculum team and present that. So let's say that's a B. Goal 3, I probably get an F- for that. That's around the communication piece. The thinking when this was created was there wasn't any doubt in my mind that this whole year would have been dedicated to a push for an override. That obviously never came to a fruition in the way that we were thinking about it way back in the fall. We did create an Instagram account. I don't know how to use it, but the kids created it for me, so maybe an F instead of an F-, but I have a couple weeks to think about that. Goal 4, in terms of emergency planning, that one's probably a solid A-. Frank Rothwell and I still need to finalize some pieces of our new reunification plan. That is, we always had a global plan that if at one of the schools, say South Grafton Elementary, you may recall that years ago we had a fire over there and had to relocate on what had to have been the coldest day of the decade. And we ended up going across the street and basically broke into the rec center associated with the church. And they were fine with that, but it had no heat. It was just miserable. So we've had a plan in place to use AA transportation, get over to the high school, basically cut the high school in half, if you will, have actual reunification in the gymnasium, have the students and staff in the auditorium. That all sounds good, but you have to really plan for numerous steps in the actual reunification, how that all works. So we're finalizing that. I'll provide detail in the summary, but we've done a lot of work. Mark Alves, our SRO, has been incredibly helpful with, as he always is, with our emergency planning. We had that tabletop exercise this year as a district, as a town as a whole, with fire, police, town administrators, ambulance. It was really well done, and it taught us a lot. And I think we've checked off every to-do box in a high-quality way, with the exception of finalizing the reunification plan.
We still have a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're going to try to
And
get
March.
that to be an A. But it's getting the actual signs. It's getting the things that you need if there's actual concern and panic. So I'll be back in a couple weeks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions for Jay? All right. You have to send me your Instagram. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know how to do any of that, but I will.
Okay, well, good for you trying. Moving on to, I believe it's you again, Superintendent
All right.
report.
Just a few things. This past Friday night, I had the opportunity to attend the Spring Fling event that was held at the Community Barn, put on by the North Grafton PTG. Jocelyn Bowman and the PTG team couldn't have done a better job. It was well attended. I thought it was terrific. So thank you to all of them. Spring sports started up. We seem to have, based on what I can see from the office, outstanding participation. The weather hasn't been particularly great this week, and it doesn't look to be particularly great next week, but that is kind of par for the course with early spring sports. On Thursday, myself and Principal Kalo will be taking Isabel Sullivan, a senior at GHS, was selected to be our Worcester County Superintendent Association Scholar this year. If the committee would like, in past years, the meeting after, we invite the individual to come and basically get recognized. So we're going to be driving over to Holy Cross on the afternoon on Thursday and to celebrate Isabel and about 50 other seniors who have really done a fantastic job in terms of scholarship. And then I wanted to send a thank you out to the Finance Committee, Select Board, all of the residents that came out last week to our what seemed like countless budget meetings. And then for the committee, I was asked about a number, kind of what next steps are. I found that every 5 years, and I should write this down, when we do have these meetings, after that final meeting, there's always confusion as to what exactly was decided. It's just somewhat automatic now, and I was looking for a little guidance if you need it. If I'm to reach out to the select board or the school committee wants to, we ended the discussion on that second select board meeting with the discussion about overrides. I think it was a great discussion, but it wasn't really nailed down in terms of if that is pursued by the select board, what that number is. Nothing particularly definitive was decided.
I mean, I'll speak for myself. I think that the select board's going to meet next week, and the chances are that they're going to open the warrant. They're going to open discussion over the ballot, and that's the opportunity for them to discuss what they're going to do. I think they do need a number. I think there are a couple different numbers that are flying around, and I think in order for it to go on a ballot, the number has to be correct. So if we take the middle, I'm going to mess this up. The 609?
Yep, 609,392.
609,392. And we subtract out what we wouldn't cut, or what we would cut anyway.
So if you did that, I guess it would depend on what the committee wanted to take out. If it was that, as it stands today, we wouldn't move forward with that preschool teacher. That was $41,849 for a half-time position. If the committee did that, I think I had the math somewhere. That would be I believe 567, 543.
In addition, are you moving Mrs. Lape regardless? Is that going to create a $30,000 savings?
It would if we stick with, which obviously the committee can give me any direction they want. That would mean that I'm basically HR director with some assistance next year.
Dr. Cummings, I have a question regarding that. So Joanne Stockland, how much, whatever her salary is, for sake of argument, let's say 140, Mandy makes 140. If you're only kicking 30 grand back, that leaves you still with 110, if I'm not mistaken, correct? For the HR.
HR, yeah, Joanne is working till like the
Right.
beginning of November. So we don't have her,
Yeah, but then for FY27, your what would be left on the line would be you're only 2 salaries and you're kicking 30 back.
you're talking about 2 years from now?
I'm talking about you have 2 salaries
Right,
and you're,
but not for within the FY '26.
but sure, 2 years from now. Let's look 2 years from now.
Okay. And what's your question about 2 years from now?
So you still would have for what you paid out for Joanne. Let's call it 60 grand for FY26 or 50 grand. I have no
Okay.
idea. What do you want to call it?
You pick.
Fine, 50. And then you're keeping another 50, correct? So that would leave you 100.
If we don't change anything for FY '27, you're correct,
Okay.
but we just wouldn't do that.
I don't understand.
If Joanne leaves the district, we're not gonna continue paying for it. I'm not gonna move.
You're not going to
that
keep the money on the line.
Salary going forward.
So you wouldn't keep the money on the line for an HR.
Well, that would depend on what the school committee wants to do. Maybe I'll kill it and be the best HR director ever, and you wouldn't add it. But if not, we build in whatever. If we're going to do a coordinator, I don't know, 100,000. If we're going to,
But is the 30 grand, I guess is the 30 grand going regardless, Dr. Cummings, is what I'm asking.
is it going with?
That in your reductions that you showed, those reductions for the $609,392.
Yeah.
One of those reductions was the preschool, correct?
Yeah.
The next is $30,000 due to an HR shift. Is that going regardless?
No, if we were to have an override, or let's just pretend we hit the town lottery, we would spend money and have an HR director.
But you would you still have 110 left for an HR director.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about the math on that one.
Okay. 140.
Like, I'm gonna have to give it thought beyond right now at 8 o'clock.
Okay. Else?
But which we did. I mean, this obviously isn't the first time we've gone through this. I'm quite confident with the 30, and I would not recommend reducing further
That's
the
not
HR.
what I'm asking. Okay.
Okay.
I don't.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I just, since we're bringing it up, and I'll hold on the number discussion, because I need to look at it. But I would not, and I think majority of or some of the select board, finance committee, they all agreed. I know you would kill it as an HR director.
No, I won't.
I absolutely
I will
think
not.
you
Will
would.
not.
I don't think that's a great idea to have the person who is in charge also being the HR director. And so I'd love to, if we're gonna ask them to put a number on, I'd like it to just ask to have an HR person. I understand the shift, the principal shift and everything, and that's great, and I'm sure Joanne will be helpful, and maybe we'll get a specialist. I'm still uncomfortable with the HR person, and feel like it just got brought up again. So if we could, I don't know, if we're giving a number, I think we include it. Like I don't
Well,
even.
if you do
We
include
are.
it,
We are.
But we are right.
Are.
Right now, right?
It's-
Because if we get the 609,
That includes
That
and
includes
that's what
keeping
Christy was
HR.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
But what I'm stating is $30,000 is not the cost of an HR director. I think we can all agree to that, correct?
yes.
Yes.
Congratulations. So that amount that's going back, what you have on the line currently for an HR director is $140,000. Is that correct? It's $139.50. That's what
Yeah,
Mandy's being
yes.
paid. Yes. So if you kick $30,000 back, you are at
Oh, okay.
$109,050.
Yeah.
Is that
So
correct?
with that, if it's just the 30, we don't get a full HR director.
Okay.
So is the number 567,543?
That's totally up to,
Well,
The-
I'm
the-
asking you,
the
without
committee.
the only cut being the preschool position.
oh, that would be.
That would be the
if you did the
remainder.
preschool,
Okay.
correct.
So the question is, do we want to contact the select board with a letter and request that they discuss that number as a micro override. Because I feel like they don't have the direction, right? Or do we just have Jay do it through Evan? I don't feel like it's clear what they're going to be discussing and what the number is.
Well, Dr. Cummings, and with the curriculum coordinators, is that you would keep both? One's not retiring? I thought that was,
No, we don't have a
Okay.
retiring curriculum coordinator.
okay.
The only retiring position was one of the maintenance people, correct?
And with assuming we reduce the math position at the middle school, that person will
Okay,
move into
gotcha.
an opening that's
Okay.
made possible through retirement.
I mean, Madam Chair, do we have to reduce the number?
I think that right now the narrative is very confusing. And I think that if we're going to be taking a position out anyway, then I think that that needs to be forthcoming and honest.
Yeah.
And we need to be transparent with the public. And this is the number. That's what we're asking for, to create the level service budget, which is what we approved. We approved a level service budget.
We did.
This would be a level service budget
Correct.
without that one position, which would get cut anyway. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but
I know what you're asking.
I know. Well, I wasn't even sure that we decided as a committee that the micro override is
haven't.
what we want, right?
We
so,
haven't.
so I'm already worried about no cushion, and now we're going, hey, let's, I understand why it's transparent, and it's, if we're just trying to fund the gap, I understand why we would talk about that, but it's already razor thin, right? So I guess that's my opening to say, is that really what we want?
That is a fair question.
Yeah, and along
Rebecca.
that same line, it's like, this is assuming that we don't need that preschool position because we don't have enough kids who may not have been identified already anyway, blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, it's all, like, we don't have solids. None of it's solid. So I agree. I agree with both of you, and I don't have an answer, but I agree with both of you. It's razor thin. I want more money, and it needs to be transparent, so.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. But I think those of you who have served with me on this committee for a period of time know that I'm a realist. And we have a very short amount of time, and people are going to ask a lot of questions, and we have to defend it. So if we're going to ask for more money, then we can ask for more money, but we're going to have to be able to defend that. And what does that mean? I personally feel that the more we ask for, the less likely it is to pass. I think we should ask for what we need for level service and get to work on FY27 and beyond. And I know that's easy for me to say because I'm not going to be here, but I'm still going to be around, and I will still help. So, but I'm just concerned that without a definitive direction and the fact that we approved a level service budget to go in with a bigger number, I think personally, I feel like at this stage of the game is a mistake. But that's my personal opinion.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I agree with you. You have to get rid of if Dr. Cummings is removing something regardless of the override, it should not be, it's not part of our level services.
Other items for discussion there? Anybody else have anything? I mean, it seems like if we were to take a vote, which I'm not a huge fan of, if we took a vote, it sounds to me like we would be at 609,392. We would ask for the original number. And we can do that. If that's the committee's will, we can do that.
I have a question and or clarification. I think we all know this, but I just want to say it out loud. It's like if we are asking for the micro override, we are assuming we will be asking for a bigger override next year. I think that is the assumption.
I think that is a very safe assumption.
Okay, I just want
Yeah.
for the universe watching, like that's what's happening.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and that's been my hesitation, just strategy wise. There were people throwing that, and I've been there both times. Like, and there isn't, and I understand, and I'm excited for the people that are fresh faced, and that's awesome, and we need them so badly. But I have hesitations. I will roll up my sleeves and work. I know we all will really hard. But I think we're getting hung up on that preschool, like teacher, because we say we're going to eliminate it anyway. It was still in our, it was in our original level service, correct? And then we were like, when we asked Jay to eliminate things, he eliminated it. And again, like, once we pass a budget, Jay really can do whatever he wants with the money. It's not like he could decide he wants, some another whatever, and he uses that money. That's his prerogative. So I don't think it's disingenuous to continue to say we need that original number that we passed. We know we need it. I don't know. I think 30,000 or whatever the
Right.
41,000.
849.
I should not talk numbers. Whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's disingenuous. And if we're gonna fight for level service funding, then I guess I'm all in on the micro override. But I will be much more in for real full funding in
Yes,
the future.
correct.
So it's a reluctant.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with Laura. I am very hesitant of a micro override in that next year, whether you get this override or you don't get this override, next year when you go for the bigger override, people are going to say, we just voted on an override, regardless of the number. They do not they will not remember the number. I don't remember the number from 5 years ago. I don't remember the number from 10 years ago, and nobody will remember the number next year. They will just remember that they went for an override. And they won't think, oh, my Netflix account went up by $5 and my taxes. That's not going to happen. They're going to remember I went for an override. In regards to the 41,000, I had spoken with Dr. Cummings prior to the original budget being approved, and at that time I was against even putting it in that budget because it's something that was getting cut regardless. So, I don't care if we don't have to fight over numbers. Make it 800,000, but I don't think going for a micro override is the way to go.
You're looking at me.
I am,
Is it my turn to talk?
if you would like.
I kind of feel the same way. I mean, budgets, I don't want to give the impression that, the budget is not a real document, but we all know that things shift during the year. And 609,392 was to keep us level service. And I think that if we are to ask for an override now, and that's an issue for the reasons we've talked about, this sort of idea of override fatigue. But if it's something we do ask for, knowing that we don't really have control at this point, I want to ask for the level service amount.
So you want to ask for the 609,392?
I want to ask for 9 million, but I'll
Well-
go for 609,392.
Okay.
If I must, I'm going reluctantly, and I will work next year, but
Okay.
Yeah, I also feel like we're shooting ourselves in the
I know.
if we're not fighting for it, we can't expect other people to fight for it. So I'm so like just strategically, I'm just so like have been on the fence on what the right thing to do is, and it's like usually my full heart and soul is like fund our schools, like that's my like to the core, I don't know, like I said on last week, like smart people are asking for this, and I'm also like, okay, try new things too, like we've been trying this, and although I feel like what we've been doing has kind of been working, even though people don't like it, even though people don't always understand that we're override dependent. So it's just, it's like hard choices.
So, can I?
yeah,
Do you mind?
please, no.
So,
Yes, I
I'm
do.
also torn, Laura. I'm a big fan of democracy, and I'm a big fan of letting the people choose.
Me too.
And I think it's another on the pro side of asking. It's another opportunity to get in front of the people and explain things to them so that we're not back here a year from now, hopefully, right? Hope springs eternal that we won't have to explain the same things again, but I know we will. Because there's new people that move into town and people forget, and that's fine. That could be advantageous down the road. means, talking at town meeting, it means something on the ballot. It's another opportunity to keep the discussion going as opposed to halting discussion now and picking it up when, right?
Right.
So there's some momentum happening, but there's also just a lack of direction, I guess. The next step in the process is for the select board to decide if they're going to put it to the voters or not. And if we don't ask them to,
Right.
they're not going to do it, I don't think.
Agreed.
You're right.
100%.
So question one is, do we want to ask the select board to put this on the ballot?
Yep.
No.
Did I hear a no?
Yeah, yeah,
You-
I'm not in favor of it.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
So we're talking about the micro override here. And
Yes.
I mean, I also want to say, it's like, I think the select board is definitely hearing from these people saying we want to choose, but the other side of that is, but before we can let you choose, we have to choose what you're being asked to choose. And that's the part that's like so hard. It's like, okay, if we knew that there was a good chance we could get a 5-year override passed, we would put that on the ballot, but it is a gamble. And if we knew we could, it's like, we really do want to ask the people to choose. Like, I think all of us are on that page. Like, I would love to, I want to put this, I want to strongly recommend it, but the temperature of town, state, national politics is finances, economy, all of these things are in a really yucky spot right now. And for us to put anything on the table is very hard. And so I have sat with this and I'm like, what do I want? What do I think is the right choice? And I can't tell you what I honestly think is the perfect choice, because I don't think there is one. I think they're all wrong. Every choice is like the wrong choice.
Who was it that said the least, was it Mark Alamo? Said it was like the least bad choice?
Yes, yeah, I think he was the one that said that. It's like,
right?
exactly, like they're all terrible.
And is the least terrible choice that Jay has to do HR for a year?
Right, is that the least terrible choice?
No, that's a pretty terrible choice.
It
I
is a
think.
pretty terrible choice.
Leora, you were next. I apologize.
No,
Took
no,
Rebecca
all
out of time.
good. So I just came here straight from a retail trade show. And I can tell you that the temperature around the economy is pretty dismal, right? So I get that. My greater fear, however, is that next year, we don't ask for an override. Next year we ask for one and people say, well, they said it was going to be terrible and then they made some cuts and everything was fine. So let's just do that again, right? So that's the other piece that I'm weighing as I think about this. This perception that, the school committee runs around saying the sky is falling and then it just works out.
Everything's super. So Jay should not do a good job with HR.
We want you to be terrible. No.
I come from a marketing and PR and storytelling, right, place. So the story, sometimes you can control the story and sometimes you can't. It is on us to communicate, and tell the story, right? And we're going to have to do a lot of work on that. Good thing we have 2 PR people on the school committee. But there is that fear that people say, see, it worked out.
Yeah.
And next year will be dire.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I did say no, and I stand by that. I do believe people should get the power of choice, but we're not giving them a choice when we're raising the garbage bag fees to help cover this cost. And you're looking at a 1.27% override. Now, working in the world of budget and numbers, that
Excuse
would,
me, I just need to correct something you said. We're not raising trash bag fees this year.
okay.
That's not happening.
Well,
We're, on the municipal side, they're gonna dip into stabilization.
and then talk about raising
For next year, they're gonna do a municipal waste fund, which
Right.
may or may not result in bag fees increasing. It could result in something completely different.
Okay, but we're still looking at a 1.27% override. And I think you keep going and asking for money. What if they say yes this time and then they say no next time? It's not, it's short-sighted, I believe, to ask for money, not expecting that you're gonna go again next time and they're gonna say no. when you really do, when we do need a lot more?
I was gonna talk, and I was gonna say something, and I can't.
It was gonna be beautiful.
Sorry. As you get older, this happens more. The big difference for me this time, I think if, I think I'm leaning towards no, this time. But we are gonna need it next year. And it's not gonna get any easier. In fact, it could get harder. And what I think might help us out is as we watch our neighboring towns go through this process. I know Natick is voting tonight. More and more of these communities, and I've noticed that people are talking about that more online. See all these other communities are in the same boat. More communities are going to be in that boat for fiscal 27 than they are for fiscal 26. And if we think it's a lot this year, it's going to be more next year if nothing changes. And I don't think anything is going to change. There is a possibility also, not to dangle false hope, but you can go for an override in the fall. If something changed drastically and we really needed that, we could do that. We could use fall town meeting and a special election to get through the rest of the year. That has been done. Not here in Grafton, but it has been done. So it's not, if we don't do it now, we can't do it until next year. We could, if we needed it, do it in the fall. And I just want everybody to be aware of that. But it doesn't sound like we're in favor of doing this. As a committee, I don't think we are we? I will support whatever the majority of the committee wants.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for just letting us have like a big discussion on this. I really appreciate it. I think we needed some more time, and I appreciate everybody's opinions. I think a lot of what people were reacting to were our original cuts. I don't, and I fully believe those original cuts, and some of I also believe that our cuts, they're hard cuts. It's not like these are super easy cuts and we're like, yay, Dr. Cummings says, and we're just keep using the HR, but they're not the, technology, supplies, all those things are difficult cuts. We know our budget is small. I do think people were really reacting to the loss of educational French and bigger class sizes and all of those really things that immediately hit kids. And so I struggle because it is the whole, if we don't, but it's also thinking one of the things we didn't really get to talk about is our next message point is we again extended that override. Through COVID, through difficult things, we've extended it another year by making difficult choices, going into our reserves, doing some hard cuts. But we valued your tax dollars enough that we went another year. That's not something that anybody has really talked about yet. For messaging, so I'm just trying to think are we letting down our kids? I don't know, because I don't have I really agree with Christy. I really think that people are just not going to remember. I mean, already, we just had an override, and
It's 5 years.
I feel that way too. In fact, sorry, I'm going to, Madam Chair, you're not going to love that I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it. My Facebook memory today came up about us on March 25th, exactly kind of so we were behind in that first override. About making the decision about what the number was in that TRICOM. I don't know what my point is. It just was weird that it was tonight. Tri-committee meeting. Oh, you people, yeah. 1.5 million for the roads and 2 million for the schools, just so you know. So that was 11 years ago tonight. So I guess, it's hard to say that. It sounded like, I just don't even think we have enough time to even educate. I don't know.
Could I just piggyback on what you were saying there?
Piggyback away.
What's one big thing that we don't have now that we had then?
Agreement?
What?
A town part of it.
Well, that. But just the means to reach the people. right? The Grafton News was mentioned very briefly at that TRICOM meeting, and yes, they do exist, and I don't mean to make it sound like they don't exist. They do.
Look at his Instagram.
That's a good joke.
And that.
But the Grafton News is a 4-page paper, and that night when I got home, I emailed them and I asked them what their circulation is, and I hadn't gotten a response yet. But I can't imagine that even half the households in Grafton subscribe to the Grafton News. We don't have, yes, we have social media, but not everybody's on social media, right? So it's got to be carefully planned. We've got to have a consistent narrative, and we just didn't get there, and it's nobody's fault. I think we all are very hard on ourselves. We just didn't get there this time. It's 1 year.
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna something Christy said on Thursday. On Thursday was that like also like I trust Dr. Cummings. Like he put this together. Like
Why?
because he's done a
He doesn't know how to
fabulous.
use Instagram.
That's not his job. If we had a communications person, that would be their job.
Oh, here we go.
Here
That's
we
what
go.
we need the 41,000. No,
Are you gonna? I'm not doing
not
it for
enough.
40,000. Are you kidding me?
no.
I do it
joking.
for free now, though. That would be nice. No,
Right.
but I mean, like, I feel like I trust, and it is a year. I mean, in that HR position, like, we need somebody. We have whatever that money is. Like, if once Joanne leaves, if somebody has an issue with you, Jay, like,
Who do they go to?
they can't. That's just not,
Okay.
I mean, they have us, I guess, but
No, it's weird.
anyway,
Have me.
love you.
Well, I
They
could
won't.
I could go do it. Sure, why
Yeah.
not? I won't be on the committee anymore. I can go run HR for the district for a few months. How hard could it be?
Okay. All right, Madam Chair. Point of order. No, I'm just kidding.
Joking.
So I guess
Yeah,
I
no, I
know
agree
this
with
is
you, though.
I'm very reluctant. I feel like I always just want to do what's
I get it.
best for the kids, but sometimes. I mean, I guess the worst case though. Can we just play out just for a minute? So let's pretend we asked for the micro override. Best case. What's the worst case? Is it fails and then we go next year, or worst case is it passes and then we have to go next year?
Right.
Right.
That's
They're
the,
both-
that's the
they're
worst
both
case.
terrible.
That's- I agree.
That's the worst case. So then we kind of don't even want it to pass
So
when
you
I'm
don't want it
talking
to
this
pass.
out.
No.
So, because like I don't mind spending the next 2 months doing. I mean, there's
We
different
don't want it
channels
to-
to get communications out there. I'm not as concerned about the lack of local. I mean, yes, we need lack of local. We need good reporting, but I mean, we know how to communicate and get that out. But I'm more concerned about what the fallout is, and it kind of sounds like
Right.
we just answered the question.
Like you're taking the rook and left your queen open. Like you're not. This is not good. If you get it, it's worse, because people are gonna say, I just gave you money.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
The other thing that I kind of like about not putting the override on this year is we already have the narrative. Like, we already have the cuts. I mean, they would obviously be different next year, but it's like people are freaking out about, or did freak out about the potential cuts we were going to make. It's like, we have it together already. We have people that are fired up, and those are things we can like. And when you were saying the thing about fall town meeting, I was thinking I don't want to put an override, I don't want to say we're going to put an override at fall, have a special election. None of that is what I'm saying, but it's like, we should probably try and have another discussion with, like, essentially a group, full TRICOM meeting before that meeting, so that we can just like, let's keep this happening. This needs to not be a discussion next March.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So-
it's, yeah.
All right.
So, Madam Chair, are we then sending a recommendation to the select board?
Nope.
Yeah. Do nothing.
We don't send even the recommendation that we don't support it going on the ballot? Because that seems what our consensus is.
I mean, that's a good question. I can send an email over with a link to the video of this meeting and let them watch our discussion.
Yeah, I think just as the finance committee gave recommendations, or, they had made that same motion and vote and give that same recommendation. I think if we're all on the same page, ourselves, the finance committee, which is what the finance committee wrote it on, what was it, 4 to 5 or something to that effect? Or I think it would,
Okay,
yeah.
everybody.
Show the town is in consensus.
I'm not thinking anything fancy, just school committee discussed.
Maybe we think the negatives outweigh the benefits
Right.
or something like, because this is, I mean, I guess we
Strategic
stand
plan
by what we say.
Decided against.
All right,
Oh, I was trying to see if I haven't seen the vote yet.
Okay. I can take care of that.
I mean, I don't know what they've received. They may have received a bunch of correspondence since
Right.
that meeting of people wanting that micro override too. So that's my only caveat, I guess. Like we kind of were like, it's up to the select board, which,
Right.
you know, which it is. So we haven't heard from people, and now we didn't. This wasn't on our official agenda, and we have every right to talk about it. And the way we did it is fine. But so this is why what I do is I start spiraling and overthinking and second guessing. But so if like they've gotten a ton of people saying yes, we want the micro override,
Love that.
Well, then it's up to them
it's
to
up to
weigh,
them.
it's up to them to weigh what they receive from the public against,
Right.
Okay,
What the-
thank you, thank you both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
okay?
Yep. Thanks.
Does anybody need to see this email before it gets sent over?
No, trust you, Amy.
All right.
Will it be grammatically correct, Madam
You
Chair?
really have to ask.
Yeah.
The math will be right.
Perfect.
There won't be any math because I'm crossing all the math out. All right, thank you, Jay.
Thanks, guys.
Do you have anything else?
Nope,
For your
that's it.
superintendent report? Okay. Student representative report. Thank you, Riley.
You have to be here with us.
Okay. We did mention earlier about spring sports. That started up last week. Been going. We're gonna have a spirit day every Friday. It's gonna be wearing Grafton gear. So when we went to the conference a couple weeks ago, our advisor, Ms. Calandra, noticed that a lot of other schools do this, so decided to bring it to our school. And then there's going to be an In It to End It cancer walk in honor of Miss Goodwill, and that's going to be on May 9th. It's in collaboration with West Boylston, so it's going to be a fundraiser. You can sign up to walk the track, and I'm not 100% clear on the details, but I know that our school is collaborating with theirs and to donate to cancer research. And then we held Mr. GHS on the 14th. Jack McCaffrey was the winner if anyone was there to watch. It was great. They danced around, had some fun acts there. And then the Bon Voyage Committee is selling umbrellas as their newest fundraiser for spring sports and that time of year. And then the Student Council as well is holding an Easter egg hunt on April 12th at the library. I believe it's going to be in the later afternoon after the libraries, and this is a fundraiser to support the school and Student Council. And then there was a jazz night, and that was last night from the GHS Jazz Group. I'm not 100% clear in the details, but I know it was their performance. And then next weekend is going to be the high school musical, the theater production. I believe it's multiple days in that weekend. And then prom tickets are going to be going on sale the week of April 7th, I believe. And that means class dues must be paid. And again, a reminder on that date, that's going to be May 12th at Union Station in Worcester. And then there was a successful spring vendor fair for the class of 2026. Delaney obviously not here to explain, but she and the other officers ran it pretty well. And yeah, that's what I have.
Thank you.
Miss Goodwill's actually coming back tomorrow on a very part-time basis.
Awesome.
Yay.
Yay.
Great.
Great news.
Well, thank you.
Anything else for
you.
Riley? Anybody have any
Yeah, any
questions?
questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
I think maybe I didn't see this correctly, but I think the Bon Voyage is also running a Get Swamped.
Get swamped.
Yes,
Yes.
okay.
So you
I
can
thought
get,
so,
You
yes.
can pay to get someone's yard swamped, and they get the signs with the gators. If you see random kids running around putting the gator signs, that's what it is.
Probably.
Setting off your doorbell
If your
cams.
neighbors
Exactly.
all of a sudden have a bunch of gators in their yards,
I
that's what
love
that would be.
It's one of my favorite fundraisers. Love it.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Riley. Thanks for hanging in
Of
there.
course, thank you.
Thanks, Riley.
I think we're not gonna use them.
All right. Future agenda.
I memed you once and it was embarrassing for me.
Okay. Our next meeting is April 8th. We'll have summer programming and the collaborative report, so that's a different thing from before, right, Jay?
The same idea,
Same idea, different collaborative?
yeah.
And then the following meeting is the 29th. We have special education report, superintendent evaluation. May 13th will be the school update, GHS, and then the facility rental fee review,
Yeah.
at that time. And then we're off.
I know a lot of you. Madam Chair,
Yeah.
could we add in April somewhere the third quarter FY25 report? The quarterly report. I see you have something in June, which doesn't really make sense to me because mid-June, we're almost done with fourth quarter at that point.
I think that's probably there because, April and May are usually so busy,
Yeah.
but you're probably right that that's
Yeah.
usually kind of an end of the year, even though it's June 10th, it's usually kind of how we look for the end of the year.
Yeah, but can we
So
get a
maybe-
third quarter?
I can put that in there and we'll see what, see how, when we can get that for one of those two dates, if we can. What else are we missing? Anybody? Fantastic. All right.
Oh, actually, when we're talking about the facility rental fee review, can we review the, since it has been brought up different times, the preschool fee review?
Not that day, but I could.
We can't-
request it sometime.
How would that work, Jack? Because we can't change it now for
No, I
next
know.
year, right? So
It's to just,
I could have Nicole come and speak to it.
you want to do it? Okay.
Can we not do it that day? There's a chance I may not be able to be here, and it's something I'd like to be involved in.
In April or later in
Try
May?
April.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Just,
Advocate for yourself, man.
yeah. Absolutely.
Just as a housekeeping item, nobody's done it yet, but we do have the ability for people to participate remotely. Not that I'm judging you at all.
I
and saying that you
understand.
should,
You're
but
right.
If you're sick,
I don't know if I'll be able
we
to.
do have that capability, so remember that, because that's not something we've normally
Had,
done.
right.
And I'd rather have that than, I mean, unless you're really sick, don't kill yourself. It is an option to help us keep quorum and
Yep.
get through to the end of the year, because we're out of room in terms of moving
Moving
things around.
things around. Okay.
We've had very good luck in the past, so knock wood. But thank you for letting me know, Leora. All right. Anything else on that? Super. Approval of minutes. I have one small change. Is it this, are you laughing because you had a change?
no, because your phone thing busted, it scared me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Shh. I just got an alert from MASC. It's probably nothing important. There's a statement in the very first section of Jay's presentation that talks about in 2014 we were 319th from the bottom. That should say 319th. We were dead last,
Right, out of three.
so we just need to have her take out from the bottom.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I did confirm that with Jay before I brought it up. That's the only change I have. I should have gotten a motion first and I didn't. That was my fault.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to approve the March 11th, 2025 minutes as amended.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And as another housekeeping item on minutes, the minutes of the TRICOM meetings will be written up by Amber, and they will be sent to each committee for approval individually. So when we get those, we'll throw them in the drive
Great.
to do it that way. Financial report.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
I move that the committee accept warrants 37, 38, and 38R9. I don't know why there's a 9 on there, but that's...
My second motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Policy.
We're trying again on IKF, this time with the changes represented in the drive and in the book, so people can see it. We have amended this policy to actually mirror our actual graduation requirements, as they were out of sync. So you'll see we've adjusted the physical education and health requirements and the number of credits required total.
Take a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the committee approve IKF graduation requirements as a first reading.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to talk about the physical education portion of it. I see that we're changing it down to 3 semesters. According to Mass General Law 71-3, physical education should be taught as a required subject in all grades for all students in public schools for the purpose of promoting well-being, such as students. Instruction in physical education may include calisthenics, gymnastics, military drill, but no pupil may be required to take part in any military exercise, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't, nowhere in that does it at all state that a health class can take the place of PE. In addition, DESE's Mass Core also states that you have to have gym, and then at the bottom in the Mass Core program, it says 5 additional core courses, such as business education, health, and or technology. As we see, it doesn't include health as part of phys ed.
So the Mass Core is just a recommendation, and it's a good recommendation. In practice, this is how districts operate. It was the co-principals and Miss Buckley who actually provided the very meat of the IKF policy. I don't have the details to speak to it. We can certainly put it off, and at the next meeting I can ask Kevin Carney and or Sharon to come in and speak to this.
Yeah, I mean, I would just feel more comfortable
Sure.
at not going against Mass General Law and or hearing why health would be considered part of phys ed. I'm happy to.
Sure. I'm sure they'll be happy to come. I'll invite them to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Did we make
Okay, do I need to withdraw my motion then?
No. It's first reading. We can vote.
We can vote anyway?
We can do your first read, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
First
yeah, I
read.
guess
Yeah,
it could
why
be a
not?
first read.
It's a first
Okay,
read.
that's fine.
Oh wait, can I also ask why are we? Wait, wasn't there one semester of health?
What?
I could have sworn that you guys took out
We may have.
an art.
Yeah, 1 year of art.
Oh, because it's changed to 32 elective credits. It doesn't have to be art. It just has to be electives. That's so yeah.
All right,
We
I
did
just
take it
didn't-
out. It's not
Yep.
on the printed, but
Yeah.
I don't know what's not on the.
Oh, it is
Oh,
actually
it is
on the
on the
printer.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's just-
I apologize, I
okay,
didn't
it's
call that
yeah,
out.
I don't
That's
enjoy
right.
it.
No, it's right there in the margin.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Good question.
Okay, are there any other comments, questions? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving IKF graduation requirements as a first reading?
Aye.
Okay, approved.
Great.
Madam Chair, just
Yeah.
as a quick bookkeeping thing for policy, KF-R, that MASC version that we had voted to delete back in January, it's still in the MASC book.
Which
Is it?
Christy?
Okay.
Sorry.
KF-R.
Thank you. Oh yeah.
Member reports. Does anyone have any member reports?
Yeah.
Would have gone down the line.
We can start with Rebecca.
I can start.
Go ahead.
On Friday, I attended the Spring Fling, which was quite a bit of fun at the community barn. It was, as Jay already mentioned, a fundraiser for North Grafton PTG. The food was fabulous. I got a gift card to Cancun. Very excited. And anyway, it was just really great. The music was great. It was a good time. A good time was had by all. And also, Laura and I yesterday drove out to UMass and attended the Ways and Means meeting on education funding. I'm not exactly sure what the title of the meeting was, but that's what it was. And there was a huge turnout. There were people chanting outside, demanding more funding. Like, it was really heartwarming. It was pouring rain. Like, it was heartwarming and also like very validating, because we keep saying all the things like it's not just us, it's not just us, and it's not just us. It was really great, and some of the people there on the committee were asking the questions to revisit how Chapter 70 is distributed, and they were doing it in really constructive ways, and it was just great. So, and we got tacos, so it was really good. And those are my member reports. I feel like I'm missing something, but man, last week was a long week.
Was it?
I don't know. Blocked it out.
It's like a whole month and a
I
week.
know, it was.
Thank you. Thank you for going, guys. That was great.
Yeah, I went to a PTO meeting last week. I don't even know. It's since this meeting. That's pretty much it. Well, on a professional note, I had the opportunity to perform for a teacher's thing in Worcester, and apparently a couple of people from Grafton, a couple of teachers from Grafton. So I might be making all things Grafton. That's why I don't bother that anymore. So, and that's all I have.
Laura.
I do not have a member report tonight.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Laura.
I won't repeat what Rebecca said. I did attend 2 TRICOM meetings.
Really? How were they?
You went all the way down the line. Did you?
And a finance committee meeting.
Wow.
Some meetings were better than others. I also went to the spring fling. I went to the vendor fair.
Oh, the
And
vendor fair was
I
great.
went
Part
to
of
the vendor
the
fair too.
part
I
of the
forgot about
2, I came home now with like 2 new pillows. I won a Grafton home basket, which was pretty awesome. And my husband said, "I see we've acquired another Grafton pillow." I love the town.
Is
What can
it
I
a
say?
zip code?
It's not a zip code. It's
I
just
need the zip code.
yeah, the zip code one. Anyway, the only thing, and I don't know if to put this in correspondence or member reports, but we did come out of there's an action item. I know Amy posted it. It was on Yes Grafton. If we could just add, I'll send you the email, Leora, to the, to send our letter. Our
Yeah.
letter's perfect for what they need.
Yep.
So if we could just add it, and is that okay?
Perfect.
I'll send you the email.
Perfect.
And then we can, and there is an opportunity if you want to go. Oh, that's April 8th. I knew there was something
I
happening.
was like, don't forget.
If people
Good.
want to go and testify in person,
Yes.
you can. You can also do it
public
on
comment.
Zoom. You have to register to testify, or you can just send an email.
can do it
I'm not
written.
sure if I'm going to be able to go. And it was pretty cool to see government in action, because we're government nerds up here, but it was they talked about a lot of different things. But we heard at least 2 people. Jake Olivier, he's a former school committee member who's now state senator, spoke so eloquently, and he is such a great advocate for schools. And he talked about rural funding and suburban funding, which is what we need to fight for, suburban funding. Yeah, so it was a good, exhausting week. I feel like I really school committeed hard. And I give myself a gold star.
You forgot that we did the Division 4 meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we
Wednesday.
did do that.
Yeah.
Laura and her leadership team for Division 4 put on a meeting on different topics that are hot in Massachusetts education right now. That was good. It was good. I was sad that it wasn't more well attended, and I don't. Again, it's nobody's fault. But I always, one of the things I've loved most about this work is getting to interact with people in other districts and hear how similar and different our challenges are. And it's nice to know that it's comforting in some ways that we have some of the same challenges, but it's also horrifying to hear the challenges that some other districts have that we do not.
Yep.
We are blessed in many ways, both just by our tremendous leadership but also the makeup of this fantastic community. There are just some issues that we don't have to worry about yet. Today, maybe next month. But it was a great meeting, and I just want to say thank you to the Division 4 leadership for that. And I hope you guys do keep doing that. I think it's very helpful. Piggybacking on the April 8th testify, I asked Andy Jefferson to submit his letter that he wrote from both the select board and the school committee, because I had the charts, and I thought it was very well written. So another representation from Grafton. And finally, Riley spoke to a little bit, the high school musical is next weekend. It's High School Musical.
Makes it confusing when you get the announcement.
I know.
I was like, what is it though? Oh, right.
The musical. It is April 4th
series.
and 5th at 7, April 6th at 2. Tickets are on sale now and at the door. We have over 20 seniors this year. So we will not be doing senior roses on Sunday. So if you want to come to Sunday and you don't want to come to Sunday because it's going to be long, don't worry. Senior roses are going to be in April at a theater banquet, which I think is a lovely little tradition to start. So I hope people will come out and see the hard work that these kids have done. It's really impressive how much they can pull together in a short amount of time. I missed the jazz night, even though my own child was in it, but I heard it was fantastic. That's a really nice tradition that we have in Grafton, where the jazz workshop and the chamber choir both perform pieces that they will perform again in their spring concert. And there's a local jazz band that came in, and the hot story from that night was that their guitarist was sick. So our own Stephen Trombley subbed in.
Cool.
And the kids thought that was just the coolest.
is.
Because
That is the
Mr.
coolest.
Trombley is the coolest.
He
And I know that the kids love him a lot. And it's very, very deserved,
When I was in high
their
school,
love for him. So
he was like our age.
that is all I have for my member report. We do not have any correspondence that I'm aware of. I didn't see anything come through to the whole committee this time. We do not need executive session. And so, seeing as how there's no other business that can legally come before the committee at this time, I declare the meeting adjourned. Good night, Grafton.